My first heat check is in regards to Jeremiah Fears reclassing and going to the 2024 instead of 2025 and then decommitting away from Illinois. And here's my premise. I think that if you take a look at the guard position in 2024 with Kasparis, Yakusionis, Kylan Boswell, Draven Gibbs-Lahorn, along with guys like Ty Rogers, Trey White, and others, even Rickhouse, who can handle the ball and do the booty ball style.
And Will Riley.
And Will Riley. Oh, yeah, Will Riley, who isn't there yet, but we know he's coming. Those guys, I just think it's a stacked area. And in my opinion, the Fears family thinks Jeremiah could be a one and done. You need time to prove that you're a one and done. And I'm not certain they can do that at Illinois. So I think this was a relatively smart move by the Fears family and Illinois' coaching staff to have honest discussions. And the Illini coaching staff are like, hey, cool, if this is what you want to do, we're not going to prevent you from doing that. And to me, it allows the Fears family maybe to make some NIL money this year. Jeremiah can find a school that he can play 25 to 30 minutes a game. And if you're good enough, the NBA will find you. Although with some of their picks, I think they have to look at more than just potential for their first round draft picks. So what are your thoughts on this situation? Where are you at on this, Brad?
So first of all, I want to say Jeremiah Fears is a really talented basketball player. He's a really good player. He's a borderline 5-star, 4-star kid. Very good point guard. He can shoot the ball, score. He passes. He has good feel for the game. I think ideally he was in the class of 2025. I think that was when he had his highest potential. When he moves, Illinois had long told him that. I mean, They had long told him that 2025 was where you will have the best opportunity for early playing time, also the best opportunity for development, because he needs to get stronger. And I think that strength will then clean up that jump shot. You look at his numbers, he hasn't shot the ball very well from three throughout this, but we know he can shoot. We've seen it, but he hasn't been doing it lately. I think strength is part of that. And I think when he gets stronger and more physical, I think, college weight program will be good for him. But in the class of 2024, he doesn't really fit this Illinois roster. And I do think they took it a little bit. They've been trying to go in 2024. There's no question when they take Will Riley, that's like, wait a second, you're taking him in 2025, but 2024. But the other you have to understand two things. One, Will Riley is old for his class. He's from Canada. He's already 18. Two, you have a kid who's 6'9", and he's playing a different position than the guard position. Because as you mentioned, with DGL, with KJ, and with Kylan Boswell, you've got three guys who are going to have the ball. Not to mention Ty Rogers. You're going to run pick and roll with Rickhouse, because Rickhouse was 97th percentile as a pick and roll ball handler last year, which is insane for a guy of his size. You're going to put a lot of these guys in these situations, so it's just less opportunity for Fears to play. And if he wants to be a one and done, he's got to go somewhere and play. And we saw that with sometimes guys don't, it takes them a year. Pajemski leaving Illinois and going getting to play. I think he would have really helped that Illinois team his sophomore year.
Yes. But
I do not think he would have been a lottery pick had he stayed at Illinois. Because or a first round pick, because he wouldn't have gotten the opportunities to play. Now, maybe he would have been in a year or two, but he wasn't there. He wouldn't have been there yet. So sometimes that's a good move for them. So I think for both parties, it's good, because you wouldn't want him having expectations, I'm going to play 25 minutes, and then coming and playing 5 to 8. We know Brad Underwood doesn't play a deep bench. He hasn't historically played a lot of guys. So there's already wondering how we're going to play these 10 guys that expect to play. How are we going to fit those in? Throwing another guy in the mix wouldn't be a good thing. So I think it's best for all parties involved. Although, and then here's the thing. Here's the other part about this. We have to remember. Let's say Jeremiah Fears goes somewhere, doesn't have a great experience, puts up some numbers, but the team doesn't win, doesn't get the notoriety that he wants, blah, blah, blah. In 2025, they're like, oh, yeah, well, KJ just went pro and, whatever. So, we need our guard, in 2025. You want to come back to Illinois? Maybe that comes with the transfer portal. Nothing's ever done. So you always want to sever it with a clean break and a good positive relationship between the two sides. and then see what happens down the road. We know how many times did Illinois recruit Terrence Shannon? How many times did they recruit Quincy Guerrier? I mean, you go through the history, and by keeping a good relationship, even though they chose another school, you see what happened, and it turned out okay for Illinois.
Yeah, because Quincy Guerrier is how I knew it was April. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, we're recruiting Quincy Guerrier again.
It must be April.
It's spring. Spring is sprung. Let me throw out one other thing, and this is the only real blind spot in this that I can see, is what a player gets from Adam Fletcher is invaluable. Because when Podziemski transferred, he developed amazing, which means you have a good work ethic, but Fletcher is guiding that work ethic. And the cool thing about getting a year with Adam Fletcher is you can take the principles that you learn from him and apply those at your next college or even in the NBA because of what he gives you. Now, you might be able to do like Guerrier and Terrence Shannon and get Adam Fletcher on the backside on second or third round. But I do think that's the only thing I would say is the negative is there's a part of me that says if Fears had come here and if he was willing to play less minutes, you'd get a year of Adam Fletcher. And from what I've seen with Kylan Boswell in 4 weeks, I think a year would be unbelievable for a player who wants to play in the long run in the NBA. And I think the word long run is where that's where maybe the Fears family is just, they're a little more aggressive in their desire.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think long term, and this is one of those things that you run in the new era of college basketball. It used to be people did think more long term because you didn't get that money up front unless you were like Anthony Davis at Kentucky
right.
or something like that. You know what I mean? Like you didn't get that money up front. So nowadays you do get that money up front. You can go in NIL and get the money in college that you're, a nice substantial sum. Now, does it compare to guys in the NBA? I mean, no. Because I'm telling you what, when I look at those NBA player salaries, it's insane. Oh, he signed a minimum contract of, or a veteran's minimum of 2.5 million or something like that. Wait, what?
Right.
And then the guys who get the max deals are getting, I mean, you got guys making $50+ million a year to play basketball. I mean, it's a fantastic career if you can get it. I know there's not that many of guys, but there's a lot of guys making 10 million plus a year. So when you're talking about long term, that's your goal because that's going to set you up for life. You know what I mean? That feeds your family for life. $100,000 feeds you is $100,000, $200,000. That's great. But that's not life changing in the sense that you're set for life. You've still got to work. You make $50 million for a couple of years. Yeah. You could not do anything for the rest of your life and be fine.
Yes.
Just live off the interest.
And you and I, of course, are still standing in line for that opportunity. We probably shouldn't have held the door for others. There's our strategic mistake.
That was our mistake. Slam the door on him.
Yeah, I got a lot of mistakes in life.